this is looking like, man, we're gonna have to get a bigger space. Gee, already? Wow. We keep having 100+ guest evenings. We're gonna have to start doing like remote viewing sessions at the Hampton Inn across the street. Had to have a good buffet. Actually don't know if they have a buffet at all. My name is Chris Groshong. I am the president of Coinstructive, and not really a founder of the San Diego meetup, which is called Bob San Diego, which stands for the Bitcoin and Open Blockchain, because before we were just Bitcoin San Diego. And people thought we were, I don't know what the right word is, prejudice, close-minded, maximalists, right? And so people actually thought that we were not open to talking about other projects. So we've decided to make it the Bitcoin and Open Blockchain, because there's a lot of good projects out there and blockchains that are not necessarily Bitcoin. And so we thought it would be great to be able to bring all that into the community. So that's why we're here today. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed your pizza and beverages from our sponsors. Bitcoin, our sponsors are Permission.io and Edge. So thanks to them, and obviously our Edge is hosting here this evening. So we have a round to Edge too for putting these on every month. And so now I'm going to bring up Madison, who's going to help talk about the all the good things that are going on here at Edge, and to get us more information about the meetup.
Hello, everybody. So I just want to touch on a couple things. First of all, Edge is hiring. We have three open positions: a front-end engineer, a UI UX designer, as well as a QA support agent. So if you yourself are looking for a role, it's an okay work environment. I don't know. But yeah, send them my way. You can find my face on LinkedIn. I'm like this. So you can find me on there. Also, our meetup is always looking for volunteers. Nothing crazy, just helping take down chairs at the end of the night, collecting recyclables because we live in California, and just maybe even someone greeting someone at the front door, or you can even help with the ordering of beverages and pizzas. So if you feel like you would like to volunteer, come see me, and I can get that set up.
Yeah, or you can find me as well. This is a really important role for this group, right?
Definitely, yeah. We're super happy to help, but we all love the decentralization aspect, and we'd be happy to have,
That's another word for passing the buck. Just kidding. No, it really is a community effort. You can see how many people are here today, and people really appreciate what we do. And so volunteers are what make this organization work, right? I've been volunteering for 6 years, almost 7 years now. Paul has been doing it longer than that. So, right, there's other faces here that I've seen that have volunteered and put in numerous hours here. So without volunteers, this doesn't happen. So those are things that definitely we could use. So please don't hesitate if you think you can spare, a half an hour or an hour once a month.
My last announcement is, don't forget to enter our raffle. I have some QR codes all around the room. We are going to be giving away $50 in Bitcoin at the end of the night, along with other door prizes, so be sure to enter that. And then if you want to touch on the lightning round.
Yes, so we'll be doing a lightning round at the end for 5 individuals who have a minute each. So we're going to do some closing remarks after the 2 sets of speakers this evening. And then between the time that we do the closing remarks and we do the raffle, we're going to have people come and line up. So as the last speaker wraps up, or speakers wrap up, just come up to the side over here and stand against or the wall or behind this area over here, and then we'll have the first 5 that come up. So try not to trample each other as you do. Make your way up. Otherwise, we'll be able to mingle, and then we'll be heading out afterwards this evening, I believe, afterwards, an after event.
We're going to head out to Princess Pub. It's, one way of keeping this party going and another way of kicking you out. So we're going to go to Princess Pub after the event.
It's the truth. I don't work for Edge, so that's on her. And here's Paul.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out here. It's so exciting to see this group grow over the years. As Chris said, we've been doing this meetup for quite a number of years. I think 2013 for me. And actually, I think we have one of the original meetup organizers in the audience, Steve Michaels. Raise your hand. I have him to thank for having really created a lot of the community back when this meetup had maybe 2 people that would show up, maybe 3 people that would show up. So thanks for creating the community. It's brought a lot of the co-founders of our company together. And so with that, I just wanted to do a quick announcement. So some new kind of things unfolding within Edge. So as many people know, we do care a lot about self-custody. Part of that is privacy. And so we just recently launched an update that adds a major privacy coin into our app. We're one of the first multi-asset apps to support Zcash in fully private mode. It's one of the strongest cryptographic assets for privacy, which improves a lot on kind of Ethereum and Bitcoin. And then last, one thing we do care about is being able to really connect with the user base and customers. And proud to say that we're I think the only company now that just announced on-site customer support. So thank you. Don't thank me, thank our support team. But I know a lot of people say, oh God, I'm on the phone and I'm on hold and whatnot, or no one's responding to my emails. Well, guess what? You can actually come here. So every Thursday between, correct me if I'm wrong, 9:30 to 11:30, downstairs in one of the best coffee shops here in San Diego, you can actually book an appointment and actually get help using Edge, using crypto, buy, sell, trade, whatever it is. We'll help you out on site. Hopefully, if there's enough demand, we'll expand that. We'll go to more hours, more days of the week. We're just kind of piloting it right now. And so it's a nice, comfy, gorgeous little cafe overlooking the harbor. If it gets cold, we can go indoor. If it's great, which it is 90% of the time, we'll stay outside. So definitely check us out. Check out the website. Book a time if you do have any questions you want to get onboarded or just have usability questions in Edge. Let us know. But thanks a lot, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the meetup.
Okay, well, without further ado, because you guys aren't here to hear me speak, I'd like to bring up our first guests. These 3 ladies I have the great privilege of actually knowing personally, and they are all very, very talented attorneys. And attorneys in this space are actually some of my most favorite people because, 1, they help you get shit done. 2, they will save your ass from going to jail. And 3, the ones that came over early are cool as hell. So I would like to bring up the 3 most cool as hell people that I know in the crypto space. Sarah, Valeria, and Haley.
Thanks, Chris. Are our mics working?
Check.
Perfect. Is mine working? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hi all. And okay, so we are 3 attorneys. I recently kind of like semi-retired, so you can blame them for everything else. So we have a dual mission tonight, which is we want to introduce Crypto Connect, which is an organization that we recently launched, and Haley is the president. I'm the San Diego lead. So hopefully you will be seeing a lot more of us here, and we'll jump into that in a second. And then we also want to do like a legal discussion in the space. The idea is to talk generally about the landscape right now in the US. And I wish I knew like where you're coming from, kind of like if you're interested in crypto, if you have fundraised before, so we could tailor it, but you're too many, so you're gonna have to get stuck with whatever we say.
And we'll do a Q&A at the end, which will give you some opportunities to ask specifics.
But anyways, we'll start by talking about Crypto Connect. So Haley, who is like the force in nature here that made it happen, tell us more about it.
And some introductions of ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm not following. We have let's introduce ourselves. Haley.
No, thanks, Valeria. So I'm Haley Lennon. I actually went to law school here in San Diego and started my career in the crypto space at Silvergate Bank, which is one of the main banking partners. 2 cryptocurrency companies. So that was sort of my first 2 years in this space. And so coming back to San Diego is always like really special to me because I get to go to all my favorite restaurants and see old friends and just old stomping grounds. But so I've been in this space since about 2013. Silvergate Bank then was in-house counsel at Bitflyer and Coinbase for 4 or 5 years, and recently joined Anderson Kill as a partner there. I work with, if anyone in the room's big on crypto Twitter, I work with Stephen Pally and Preston Byrne that also tweet a lot of memes and
She's pretty big as well. Like she doesn't need Pally and Preston.
So yeah, I've been at the firm for a year, and it's just an awesome opportunity. So really excited to speak with other experts in the field. I've known Sarah and Valeria for years, and a big fan of Perkins Coie's work. So we'll get into like the legal 101, but once we all introduce ourselves, we'll dive a little bit more into Crypto Connect, which is sort of my most recent project and something I'm super excited about.
So my name is Valeria Bistrovich. I am an attorney. I went to law school in Argentina. I'm originally from Argentina, and that's how my path to crypto came about.
No beer.
I love this part about
I
the
do
meetup,
too.
though.
I do too.
I am a corporate attorney, and I started getting involved in Bitcoin before I started working in the blockchain space. I joined Perkins Coie in 2016, and through, I don't know, any of you may know Sapo, which was a client, and the founder is Argentinian. He told me all about Perkins and what a great, blockchain practice they had. So I was already having my, crisis about being an attorney, but it was crypto that kind of like kept me going for several years. I went through the whole ICO craze, working in the corporate side of things, and basically was involved in many of the major ICOs like Brave, Civic, 0x. I don't know. It was a fun ride. And then last year, I basically say enough about billing for my time, and I switched to a new role within Perkins, where I'm doing kind of like business development, client relationships. So using my background as an attorney to kind of like help our clients find investors or, I don't know, banks, whatever connections they need within the space. And that's me.
So my path to Bitcoin started because when I was, my first semester of law school, actually we'll start at the beginning. My first semester of law school was fall of 2008, which was not a great economic time to then be looking at finding a new job in a new industry. And I ended up at a financial services boutique that was entirely focused on litigation. I was a marketing major in undergrad. I was always planning to make it in-house, and I just happened to land at this litigation boutique. And as one of those kinds of stories of all things end up having a good reason and a good purpose, I ended up learning a lot about our financial system, which is to say I ended up learning a lot about how our own financial system is pretty messed up. Like, we've got a lot of good regulations, and we make it really easy for consumers. But it was pretty messed up. A lot of the litigation that I saw, and a lot of the kind of behind the scenes and the rails and the plumbing of what was going on more than 10 years ago. And so as the economy started to improve, and I started thinking about like, okay, fine, I never planned on being a litigator. How do I progress my legal career from here? Also corresponds with when I first found out about Bitcoin. And actually, one of my first Bitcoin meetups, Bitcoin conferences, I met Paul. And it was in DC. I lived in DC at the time, and I had plans to make it to California eventually, but I was still in DC, and a few months later ended up landing in-house at Coinbase and building out a lot of their money transmitter licensing program. I was the second lawyer hired there when there were maybe like 40 employees, so it was a tiny company, a lot of fun, and I thought I'd made it. This is in-house, this is the dream. I can leverage this. Well, I mean, on some levels I did, but it was one of those sort of lessons learned of like learning to be able to guess and check of like, I thought I made it. It was like, I made it in-house. This is great. This is like, I'm doing everything I could ever hope to be doing, like open financial systems and decentralized future and all of these exciting things. But I started getting really bored in my role. And a big part of that is, like, for me as an attorney, was I was kind of feeling like I was like a compliance person. I was responsible for making sure the ships ran on time and the regulators had what they needed. And so when I started thinking about looking for a new job, I was very much like, really? Like, you love this company, and like this was supposed to be the dream. Why are you even looking for a new job right now? And the answer to that is just because there were so many exciting things going on in the broader blockchain ecosystem, and it was like I can't just tie myself to like one ship. There are so many projects I want to learn from, so many projects I want to learn about, so many projects I want to be able to help as a lawyer. And so that led me very begrudgingly, actually Jerry Brito from Coin Center, if any of you know the policy group, who I had met when I was in DC before either of us were involved in crypto. He was like, gee, Sarah, it sounds like you're talking about a law firm. And I was like, oh, shit. I'm not supposed to ever go back to billable hours. Long story short, that was 5.5 years ago. And about 5 years ago, I joined Perkins Coie. And have been doing a lot of the same kind of work ever since around helping exchanges, helping custodians, helping new big tech players get into the blockchain ecosystem, helping NFT companies, and I haven't looked back yet. So never say never is my career advice to any lawyers who are asking about what they might want to do in the future. But that's my backstory, and I'm really, really excited to share the stage with both of these ladies today, who I've also known for a lot of my time in this industry, and I'm especially excited about Crypto Connect. So, Haley, Valeria, do you want to tell us a little bit more about Crypto Connect?
Yeah. So this is sort of Crypto Connect's first event that we're co-hosting with a lot of amazing support and other groups that put on these events in San Diego. But we launched Crypto Connect, and as Valeria said, Valeria serves as the San Diego lead. We launched initially in 12 different major cities in the U.S. And the idea behind Crypto Connect is it's a women-led organization. So the entire board of directors are established professional women who have been in the space for many years, who I just sort of like immediately thought of as sort of connection makers and movers and shakers in the industry. And I felt like it would be great to just see more female leadership in this space. But the goal of Crypto Connect is definitely for everybody. So our goal initially was to launch in the 12 major U.S. cities. You guys are just lucky that San Diego is one of those 12, probably because I'm biased and went to law school here. But so we launched a few months ago in those 12 cities and hosted an event in each city, really just to start to see what the sort of like turnout and interest was like, because different cities already have sort of other forms of meetups and Bitcoin networking events. And the goal here is really to bring additional people into the fold, use some of the women who are in leadership roles on our team to bring additional people with different backgrounds to these events and sort of serve as an umbrella organization, so that no matter where you're based or traveling or relocating to, and the goal is eventually for this to be worldwide, Crypto Connect can be like that umbrella organization that you can ping into and say, oh, I have to go to New York for Christmas to see my in-laws. What are the crypto things going on the few weeks I'm there? What are the meetups that are happening? What are the companies that are interested in meeting with prospective individuals who are interested in getting into the crypto space? So it's really focused on, like I said, like it's a women-led organization, but events and the initiative is for everybody, and really boils down to sort of professional development, education, mentorship, and networking. So we've been really excited about it. I think the industry sort of, the response to it's been really positive. And I've been really excited by the individuals who are a part of the organization and helping sort of lead the different chapters. So it's just been great. So would love to like sort of hear, I guess, your experience in sort of the city lead roles and like what, one thing I like about the organization is that the individuals who ended up getting involved, I felt like they personally had their own passions and reasons behind getting associated. So maybe we can just kind of chat about that.
And here's when I unleash all my politically incorrect side, but
let's do it.
No. No, I was super excited. I've been thinking also about what can we do, some type of organization or things like that, but you stay in that what can we do stage. Haley, as I said, she's kind of like force of nature. She made it happen. What drew me to Crypto Connect is I'm from Argentina. I come from a very juvenistic country, so I don't get into the whole, oh, women, men. I don't get into that discussion a lot. But I have to acknowledge that I've been here since 2001. You do see certain differences, but I didn't want to belong to a group that it was all about women, because the best people in my career have been men. That have been amazing supporters to date that I love working with them. So I like the approach that many of the women was like, okay, let's highlight the amazing women that are in the space, but this is not about women, it's about the industry. I personally love the industry. I have known them too since 2014, maybe.
Since the beginning.
So I don't know, I just think that it's an amazing, and there's so much, crypto, where we come from the legal world, but you can come to crypto from a philosophical standpoint, from an economic standpoint. I mean, there's so much to be done in the space. And what drew me to it at the beginning was all the social impact that it could have outside of the US, because in the US, still it's easier, let's be honest, to use Venmo than to use crypto. But in other places of the world, it can be like life-changing. So that's what drew me, and the idea with the organization is we're already talking, we have interest from Africa, Switzerland, everywhere,
When we launched so one of the things we've been really trying to do as an organization is like launch the initiative and then like engage with the communities just on this like phase 1 small scale to see if it's at all like something of interest to people. Because we're not here to like just launch another initiative or even like step on toes of initiatives that have already been happening. And so I was honestly shocked in the first few weeks after we launched and we had a few Twitter spaces, the emails I was getting just from, all over the world, Australia, Sweden, Switzerland. The interest from Canada, I probably got like 300 emails from people in Canada, when these different territories. So I think it's just, people sort of, I wanted to start Crypto Connect out of a personal frustration I was having because I had joined Anderson Kill as a law partner, but before that I didn't have a book of business. I was in-house at Coinbase and Bitflyer and Silvergate Bank for so many years, and so as I was traveling to like meet prospective clients, I was finding that I just had to go to my Twitter and say, hey, I'm going to be in Nashville this weekend, like does anyone want to grab a coffee? And I was like, how are other people not even just traveling, but like even where you live, sort of pinging into communities like this, like we're seeing in this room. And I just think that it's really nice to have different avenues and groups that are open to sort of facilitating the community that you can, because this is how you learn, right? It's just like sharing knowledge and sharing news and that sort of thing. So super excited.
Yeah. So what's coming next is we're gonna immediately go to Canada, Latin America, in Mexico, which is kind of like, and we're planning to do a conference, a 2-3 day conference towards the end of next year or the following year.
Yep.
And at some point, we have a website. We would love to hear from you because, when you were asking what's being a city lead, I think that each city is gonna have their own personality, and we're gonna tailor that that program to the city.
I love that this city has dogs
Yeah.
as part of its personality.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, another thing that we do a lot of women in crypto events, but it has been amazing, kind of like for people looking for new job opportunities. The space is growing, like it's unreal. Yeah. So just talk to us on the link of the site, and hopefully we can learn what is needed.
Yeah, everyone in the group and in this industry in general, once you've sort of established your role in the space and what you're looking to do, like people who are interested in getting into the space more, like I think there's a lot of enthusiasts and hobbyists, and some people just want to stop there and it's sort of just a day-to-day hobby or interest in this technology, and some people are like, how do I pivot my career from what I am doing to something that touches crypto? And so I hope that our organization can be a resource to that, because even on our board we have sort of people in every different type of profession. So we have marketing and PR and engineering and trading experts and and legal, obviously compliance. So But anyway, enough about crypto.
Yeah, and today you're stuck with 3 attorneys, so
Yes.
today it's gonna be legal.
So that was like sort of the fun part, right? No, we'll try to keep the like legal talk interesting. Like as we were sort of talking about how to start the presentation on legal, we wanted to make sure that we give sort of a high level 101 level instead of just like off and running. So I think you.
I'm happy to.
And just to let you guys know, we have about 10 minutes, and then we'll do like Q&A.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. So we have a lot to cover in 10
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
U.S.
All right, 10 minutes, man. I gotta cut this down now. All right.
Go high level U.S.
High level. Yeah. Sorry, you're stuck with the legal people tonight, but
We're the cool attorneys, though.
But yeah, I
have
like
a-
to think
I have a
you actually
beer.
probably have the cool. I know, and I should have grabbed one.
See.
So at a very, very high level, if you're getting involved in crypto, there are at least 3 areas of law that you definitely want to know about: money transmission, securities, and commodities. I'll make this as quick as painless as possible.
I don't believe her.
Check me later.
All right.
We'll take a poll.
So money transmission, FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, is the federal regulator that if you've ever heard of AML KYC, first of all, what that alphabet soup means is anti-money laundering and know your customer. FinCEN is the regulator behind all of that, and they were the very first regulator in the United States to say anything about crypto. And at the time, by the way, it was really actually just Bitcoin.
Yep.
They talked about convertible virtual currencies, but really all they were talking about was Bitcoin. And I say all of that because a lot of the use cases that we see for Bitcoin today really actually are more like financial services. That is, Bitcoin is, peer-to-peer cash. It's kind of like digital gold. It's sort of a form of payment online. And so it makes a lot of sense that that's what FinCEN's guidance was focused on. It hasn't aged entirely well, and I won't go into detail. We can deal with that in Q&A. It hasn't aged with all of the new tokens that have evolved and emerged since then. But in 2013, they were the first federal regulator to opine anything about virtual currencies. And if you ever hear the term money transmission, it actually means a lot more than just FinCEN. FinCEN is concerned with anti-money laundering, which is why they make you know who your customer is. They do transaction monitoring because they want to make sure that you're not actually involved in some kind of financial crimes. It also involves money transmission at a state level, which is a state-by-state, really obnoxious licensing regime. And that is a consumer protection-focused regime. And the consumer protection roots actually in all of these laws date back to early days remittance laws, where you would have people who maybe don't read the language, maybe don't even speak the language, maybe have a really hard time understanding what they're doing when they're remitting money. And so these laws came about to make sure, first of all, that the company that's taking the money and saying, yes, I'll make it available to whoever somewhere else, isn't actually just going and spending the weekend in Vegas, but also is providing receipts and disclosures on fees and is running and operating a safe and sound business. So when you hear the term money transmission as it relates to crypto, you're talking about both the regulations that apply to make sure that there are no financial crimes involved in whatever's happening on your system. You're also talking about the equivalent of MoneyGrams and Western Unions and PayPals of the world to make sure that folks are just actually operating safe and sound businesses. And if they say that they have your crypto or your money, they actually do have your crypto or your money. That's money transmission. I'm looking at Valeria, like, did I keep it high level enough?
Pretty good.
Commodities.
I was going to go securities next.
Securities.
All right, commodities is actually an easy one to touch on. The CFTC regulates commodities at a federal level, and the reality is pretty much everything's a commodity, including securities and money, but there are certain exemptions that exist if you're dealing in securities or money. But the breadth of the commodities laws basically captures everything. What actually requires licenses and regulation typically relates to derivatives. So if you're dealing in like futures type transactions related to commodities. So that comes up less historically, except that a lot of the margin trading and schemes like that in the crypto universe.
Schemes.
Well, I mean, So I'm trying to stay away from DeFi right now, but I think we'll see. I think we'll see a lot more from the CFTC and Haley. I think we'll touch a little bit on what we're hearing from DC right now. That's kind of the commodities overview, and then securities overview. The securities laws in the United States and Canada are different from most of the rest of the world. We have this concept of an investment contract, which is not necessarily a stock or some other specific thing that most of the rest of the world has a very enumerated, this is a security if it fits these exact criteria. Thanks to the common law system we have in the US, which means there are regulations that are written and then courts get to interpret them over time. We have this notion of what an investment contract is, and we have this Howey test of whether or not something meets the definition of an investment contract. And it's whether or not there's an investment of money into a common enterprise with an expectation of profits from the common enterprise of someone else. And that has been interpreted. So, and if you've ever heard of the Howey test, I think this is worth, I hear this a lot with NFTs and with token sales. If you've ever heard of the Howey test, it's worth noting that the Howey test is based on a Supreme Court case that dealt with orange groves, where orange groves were sold, in addition to other contracts where you would buy this like patch of an orange grove, and you would buy a management service where the management service would go in and make sure that your oranges got grown and harvested and sold to make orange juice or whatever else they were grown to make. And the Supreme Court of the United States said that that scheme that it was sold under constituted a security because it was an investment contract. You weren't actually just buying the orange grove, you were buying this collection of things that resulted in actually being kind of like investing in a contract, in a stock or in a company. And so as a result, we have this kind of, what some people might say, overly aggressive regime of securities laws in the United States that has evolved ever since. But it is worth noting that the underpinning of that case, then that case law, actually did deal with like real world items and wasn't just kind of an esoteric thing. So that's how we then get securities laws being applied to things like token sales, and depending on the wrapping of an offering of an NFT or a token, potentially being a security.
Well, and if you think about those like 4 prongs, to me, like so many things can fall within that, right? Because all it's saying is if someone invests money into a common organization, and the reason they're investing that money is because they think that the value of what they're buying into is going to increase in value. So there's an investment money in a common enterprise where the value of that thing is going to increase because of that organization's efforts. A lot of tokens would arguably, in my opinion, fall under that. And I was just
also Beanie Babies
yeah,
from my childhood. So
yeah, and I was having a conversation with some of my partners today about the NFT space, and like it's such an interesting thing to see like the different ways in which an NFT is sort of actually, the contract terms of an NFT are actually drafted. If there's like royalty payments that actually get transferred with that NFT, you could argue that the person is buying that NFT because they feel like the efforts of the artist and the creation of the NFT is going to increase in value. So a lot of times this Howey test and security law implications are a big part of what all 3 of us have spent time talking with clients about, because that's where often if you start adding liquidity, or like getting companies getting interest, or there being an NFT with royalties, or a token sale where the project's keeping 40% of the tokens and then having it go
or
live.
40% of the kickback after any subsequent sale, or
Right.
10% of the kickback.
So to not go like on the rabbit hole, because we don't know what each of you do, but I think that the practical conclusion is, if you're in the US and if you're in the US and you're gonna do anything related to tokens, especially if you're gonna fundraise, know that you have to deal with these 3 things: securities, commodities, at least money transmissions, and this is gonna be the segue to the next topic, which is the US is being very aggressive right now, the SEC especially, with respect to considering everything securities. Yeah. So whatever you do, make sure you do it in a way that you don't get in trouble with the SEC, which means doing a scheme to avoid the US.
So we're getting the two-minute mark, and I don't. Is that then Q&A we can do for like 5 minutes? So we didn't touch on a lot of the stuff we'd actually
Talk
kind of
talk a
planned.
little bit, because it's important. And then the second was like, what news
Where
are
we're
we having
going.
from DC?
Yeah.
Because we have a new chair in
Yeah.
the SEC, and things changed drastically lately.
Yeah, so there's been a few like sort of evolution in the regulatory space. I think for one, so Gary Gensler became chairman of the SEC, and the SEC functions in a way where there's multiple commissioners, but the chairman sort of ultimately decides some of these things, or at least sort of sets the climate. And so in some ways, like Gary Gensler, I think initially sort of indicated an openness to some of the projects that were waiting to get regulatory approval. A lot of the things like Bitcoin futures ETFs and Bitcoin spot ETFs are things that were in front or continue to be in front of the SEC for approval. But then there's been this like interesting relationship, I think, in DC, where like Elizabeth Warren and other government officials and like regulators sort of have still their criticisms of cryptocurrency, either it's only used by money laundering or for criminal activity, or whether it's concerns about market manipulation and like the pricing methodology that these exchanges and companies use to actually figure out the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. There's concerns about market manipulation and that sort of thing. So earlier this year, I can't remember exactly when, but the SEC did approve Bitcoin futures ETFs, and that was a few years after the CFTC had already sort of given their green light about it. But Bitcoin spot ETFs continue to be denied. And so that's one area where we're still seeing like a lot of friction for companies in the space. Those same products are live in Canada and other countries, but in the US they can't get approved. And even, I mean, just tomorrow there's a hearing on Capitol Hill with some of the, I would argue, like some of the bigger names in the cryptocurrency space, including Brian Brooks, who was chief legal officer of Coinbase and then became the president of the Office of Comptroller of the Currency, who federally oversees monetary supply. Him and a handful of other people will be testifying tomorrow. I think at I think it's the Banking Senate hearing committee tomorrow morning. So I just think we're still hearing a lot of news coming out of DC, and still a lot of, I think, that like fear narrative being put forth, because cryptocurrency really flies in the face of like what centralized governments and banking system and traditional finance stands for. So even when like there doesn't seem to be like a legal reason that they can point to for a rejection, if there's still that political things at play. So it'll be a really interesting year, and I guess we'll open it up to Q&A, and we don't want to go on for too long, so we can go on with the other presentation as well.
There's the first one right here. Hi guys, Kyle Kemper. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your wisdom. It's a great pleasure to listen. So, as being a Canadian in America, if I were to do a project, would you recommend, like, for new token projects, like America's not probably the best domicile?
Canada is either. Those are the two jurisdictions that are like.
Does it matter if we're actually physically in America, because we can do a project elsewhere, right?
Yeah, so what matters is the percentage ownership, and this was actually part of the presentation we didn't get to. We were going to touch on this a little bit, which is Reg S, and that is the securities law in the U.S. that basically says, look, if you are issuing stock for a French company and you're in France, we don't care. And there are some parameters around that, around where the ownership sits and where the actual people sit, to ensure that it actually is an offshore entity. And there are some rules where if you have U.S. people involved, involved in like the flow back, to ensure that there's some amount of like the value doesn't flow back to U.S. people. So
it's very nuanced, but if I had to give you in 2 sentences, is right now in the U.S. every token is considered a security, and the only way to sell it is by using Regulation S, which basically tells you how to sell securities without falling within the jurisdiction of the SEC. And what you have to do is sell them outside of the US, and that flowback rule, what it says is those tokens cannot tokens, which for the US are securities, cannot make it back to the US within 1 year. So that's where you need to put lockups, and that kind of like has a lot of friction with a lot of projects because they don't want to have their tokens not being able to
And
trade.
it asks a big question about, do tokens actually exist anywhere? If they're on a blockchain, are they really in the United States, or is there a key? There's lots of different questions around. I get it. Now, if you're a successful company, you're really under the guise of the SEC. You're really under the microscope. Smaller projects, are they really being looked at?
You are asking the wrong crowd. We can't answer that one.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And if you are a success, in your view, for the successful ones that do fall under SEC penalty, is anybody going to jail, or are they getting kind of are they getting fines, or are they getting fines? Are they getting
Our time's up.
fines
Let's open it
that
up
are
for some more
tantamount
questions. Let's
to
open it up for some more
bribes?
questions.
No,
Alright,
no, I'm
fines that are tantamount to
I'm
bribes.
teasing. No, I mean,
No.
in general, I mean, I have conversations where a prospective client, the question would literally be like, well, what if we're just not the slowest person trying to outrun the bear? And like, I mean, a risk tolerance is a business decision.
Well, I don't know how you
But-
say it in English. Russian roulette is when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you
Russian
can always
roulette.
play Russian roulette.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That's not legal advice.
EOS pays $1 billion and then pays a $26 million fine or $26 million bribe.
no, but there is people going to jail. I hear you, you know, and we have internally, we have internally this discussion. I get pissed at some of it. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we formally had, it is what it is. That's the rule. Your risk tolerance is up to you. Obviously, if you're no one, they want to make a statement. And you know,
But enforcement has like a long tail, so I do think that like there's projects that people would think got away with it, and time will really tell. And
We're
if
now
that-
seeing
Look
enforcement
at-
actions for
Yeah.
things that happened in 2017
Ripple.
Yeah.
Look at Ripple.
or 2014.
I mean, Ripple, it took forever. Yeah,
Hello.
sorry.
Thank
Hi.
you, ladies, so much for your time. I just had a quick question for you. I was actually at the Miami Coin event this past week,
March.
and
Okay, no.
this past week I didn't get a chance to ask this question to the panel. It may be better for you all.
Okay.
So Miami Coin is built on top of Stacks. Stacks is a smart contract on top of Bitcoin. Stacks had the first digital token with the SEC-approved offering. Does that mean everything built on top of Stacks would also be quote-unquote SEC approved?
I would not take that position, and I'm shaking my head
We're
in
all,
part
I think we're all
because
shaking our head.
so the only tokens that the SEC has said they do not think are securities are Bitcoin and Ethereum,
Okay.
and pretty much everyone they've gone after since as securities has been built on top of Ethereum. So while they're able to say maybe Ethereum was a security when it was first offered, but we think it's sufficiently decentralized, now its value is no longer derived from a single team, it's derived from this broader group of teams and group of people building on it. So you can no longer find that like single point of its values derived from this group, the efforts of these others. Almost every other enforcement action that they've taken to date has been from a project that is built on top of Ethereum.
Okay, that makes sense. So if the SEC says Ripple or XRP is a security, everything built on top of that would most likely be a security.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Other than to Valeria's point, right now the de facto assumption in the U.S. is that if there's a new token, it probably is a security.
And just for the record, I hate that. And it's taking business outside of the US, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we can't change the law. They're gonna have to.
All right, just a couple more questions.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Hello. Hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Kind of a speculative question here. What do you think the odds are that all wallets will need to be KYC'd at some point?
What again?
That all wallets will need to be KYC'd
Like even like
at some point in the
non-custodial
future.
wallets.
Like, what do you think
Like
the odds of that coming out?
non-custodial wallets? Is that in-
Edge wallet.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, I'm an exchange and I want to send a coin to it. Yeah. Like, if you want to send money in and out of an exchange, then being like, you have to have.
I think the bigger question is what will be considered an exchange. So I skipped over this a little bit, but when talking about what FinCEN decided, like, look, if you are this, you're a money transmitter, they said if you're an exchanger of virtual currency, then you're a money transmitter under our regulations, you need to register and you need to have all this big compliance program. And so I think the real question is, will FinCEN ever decide that some kind of self-custody or self-custody infrastructure that lets you also exchange and interact with different networks, will that be deemed provision of exchange services? And to date, I think the answer is no. I think the signs point towards the 2019 guidance that FinCEN issued, and even some of the response that has come from DC as a reaction to some of the FATF guidance, and FATF is sort of the European regulatory guidance, has generally trended towards, if it's self-custody wallets, that's the provision of software, and we're not in the business of regulating the provision of software. TBD, because as an asterisk there, the European regulators have seemed to trend towards the direction of finding that potentially regulated activity. But to date, FinCEN guidance in the US has trended towards saying that's just the provision of software, and we're not in the business of regulating the provision of software.
Thank you.
Great. One more question back here.
So why do you think the government has insisted on calling it virtual currencies instead of cryptocurrencies? Is that a deliberate insult to cryptocurrencies to not call it by its name? And by doing so, do you think that casts too wide of a net? Like, would that also include like Marriott points and JetBlue Sky Miles and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can give your opinion first.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional at all. I don't think there was any like virtual versus cryptocurrency. I actually early on felt very much like, why don't we just call them digital assets? Like, why don't we use that instead? But also digital assets, maybe not necessarily currency, so I can appreciate why that wasn't chosen. But I do a lot of work now that I'm at a big law firm. I do a lot of work with rewards points, with in-game currencies, with in-game currencies that can be played in multiple games and on multiple consoles. And how do we think about this? And are we accidentally tripping into becoming a convertible virtual currency? And the real test, I think, remains to be seen as to like how far can you take that, especially as we start talking about metaverses, where there's multiple universes where you maybe use what was once an in-game currency or once a point or reward over here that you can actually spend everywhere. I think that it's actually, at the end of the day, like going to end up being somewhat of a subjective test, but that subjective test is going to be, does this actually substitute for a normal currency? And until it hits some kind of traction where this thing is being substituted for some other normal currency, it's not likely to trigger the types of regulation that a convertible virtual currency, as that's defined by FinCEN, is going to hit. But that's my take.
My answer is, I don't know. But also, one thing that after being practicing law for so long you learn is what matters is the substance. So I don't really care about how they call it, as long as we can achieve the purpose that we're trying to achieve as an industry. And they will always look at substance. So the name, maybe you're right, I don't care.
It may be because they don't understand the difference, or like what cryptography means and why that's part of the name or part of different white papers. Like they may just be really thinking about it as, well, it's not our legal tender that these banks put out. It's not something we can print, so it's virtual.
And also, it's like, don't lose perspective to the thing. Like, they don't know either. This is totally new. It's new for us. Like, we are all like, what's this? They
Most
don't know.
of them probably know less than we do.
Yeah, and we, in private practice, you get paid way more than in government. So we are kind of like struggling to understand what the hell we're doing. Imagine in the government, they're like, what is this?
Yeah, the resources are really limited.
So I wouldn't put that much thought into it.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Super last question. What's it going to take to get Ross Ulbricht out of jail?
Oh man. Well, we were just
Time is up. Thank you so much, San Diego.
A pardon.
We are not criminal attorneys.
That's
Okay,
true.
very good.
Yeah.
But you're right, a pardon would do that.
A pardon would do that.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, and thanks to Crypto Connect.
for us. Hey, listo.
I'm wearing boots.
Thank you.
Feel free to get up and grab a beer. But I mean, we're gonna start the next topic.
Yeah, this is not an intermission. All right.
Never mind.
So
All right, we're gonna invite Isaiah Jackson up to the stage.
So I'm really excited to have Isaiah here today. We've been trying to get him here for a little while, and he's finally been able to make it over. So we're really excited because, well, first off, there's not a lot of authors in the space, and the ones that have written books, they're kind of stuffy. I'm not gonna lie, and or they're pretty dry. So I've read some excerpts of the book, and looks like he's got Isaiah brought some copies too. So if you have the urge to or the inkling to buy one tonight, he has some extra to sell. So and you can get signed copies this evening as well too. Try not to bum rush him after this. You know, he has to type. So if you heard his typing hand and his signing hand, that's his moneymaker. But what we were talking before the meetup, and he brought up a point that I thought was really interesting. You know, we all know people or have experienced, you know, lower levels of wealth at some point in our lives, usually, right? Whether that's having, you know, $25 left in your bank account and not sure like if you should withdraw 20 bucks, or having overdraft fees, right? I remember when I was in college having to do overdraft fees constantly, right? Just because I didn't have any money. But there's other things like buying lottery tickets and gambling that we see people do all the time, right? And he was mentioning to me that he has some family members, and I was thinking about too. I even have family members that were going and spending money on lottery tickets, right? That's like throwing your money away, right? What percentage of that actually gets to the schools, regardless, right? But the point is that Bitcoin has changed people's lives. Just by making small investments regularly, they can see these changes. And so part of all of this is education. And I think what is really beautiful about what Isaiah is doing is not just going on tour to promote the book, but to explain and educate to people how Bitcoin can really change your life. And I think that's probably why a lot of you are here today, to hear him speak and talked about what it is that and how Bitcoin can change the world for everybody. So thanks for being here, Isaiah.
Thank you. Testing. All good? All right. Thank you all for coming out tonight. How are we doing tonight? Good. Good to have you all. Thank you to Paul for having me from Edge Wallet. Thank you. Permission.io. Thank you to Crypto Connect as well for the great presentation. And as Chris said, I'm Isaiah Jackson, the author of Bitcoin in Black America, first version as well as the second. And one of the main things I wanted to speak about tonight, I'll start off with my journey briefly and just discuss some of the synergy that Bitcoin and the Black American community has and how this actually applies to everybody. So first I want to ask, who was here or who was in crypto before 2013? A couple OGs in the back. Shout out to you fellas. So most people came afterwards, but I was somebody who was around in 2013, just to give a little backstory, which if you were around during that time, you understand it was very scary. It was the Wild West. It was fake faucets that were giving away Bitcoin. It was wallets being hacked. We had Mt. Gox. We had Silk Road. We had Silk Road 2.0. We had all of the media FUD. I believe every media story I saw back then was negative, and the only way that we changed that was with different media outlets in the crypto market. So very scary time, and I learned about Bitcoin, ironically enough, from somebody who worked for Charles Schwab. And my roommate came home. He actually said, I learned about this thing called Bitcoin, but it's so techy. I don't understand what it is. I don't really care. Charles Schwab was pretty much at that point, they felt too big to fail. So they discussed it, but they didn't really go in depth. He told me about it, and I immediately thought to myself, all right, well, this is some way to make money. I'm a broke 23-year-old, fresh out of college student. I went through the initial crash of 2008, 2009 in college, where you're already broke. I'm already taking change out of my out of my car to pay for, dollar menu, and then the actual crash happens. So when that happened, I didn't really understand money, and I knew that something needed to change. And when he stated to me that it's a different form of money, I had to read the white paper, which I did, and I think I got kind of lucky because I majored in computer science, and I understood it right off the gate. And I also watched a guy you may know called Max Kaiser. If anybody knows Max Kaiser, I'm pretty sure he can convince anybody about Bitcoin. I mean, anybody that's ever seen his videos, ever heard of my RT report, that was the first person I saw talk about it. So I was very intrigued. And one of the things I noticed when people discussed Bitcoin was that it was always negative, like I stated before. If you looked at the media, it was for drug dealers. It was a Ponzi scheme. It was worse than a banana, according to Mark Cuban. I mean, it was everything under the sun. I think Charlie Munger called it a turd or a rat turds. I mean, come on, man. Rat poison, yeah. Rat poison squared, even worse. He needs to update his insults. But a lot of the things that we saw about Bitcoin, to me, reminded me of the negative media attention that the black community gets. And to me, I grew up in the black community. I saw a lot of hardworking people who achieved a lot, who pushed past a lot of the barriers to entry. And then in the media, all of it was welfare queens and murderers and what happened tonight, these black criminals. I didn't get it. And one thing I realized was a synergy there was anything that challenges the status quo is always attacked in the media, mainstream media specifically. So I thought to myself, Bitcoin in Black America was perfect because it showed that if times are changing and Bitcoin is the thing that's doing it, our community has to be involved because there's nobody stopping you from getting into it. The barrier of entry was finally gone. And that is the only thing I think the black community has been asking for, myself specifically, is equal opportunity. Not necessarily equal outcome. Honestly, some people are just lazy. They're just not going to make it. But equal opportunity. That is what Bitcoin presented to me. And from a tech standpoint, I understood it, so it always works. So price never mattered. Most people, they get into it, it's like, well, number goes up. That's it. They can't really explain why, they just know the number goes up. And that is sort of the medicine and the candy. It sort of gets people in the mode of, I made this investment, or I bought this magical internet money. I see it increasing in fiat dollars, so in their mind, psychologically, this is a great thing to use. What they don't realize is you just moved your money out of a fiat system that is destined to crash into what is most likely the new system that we'll be using. And with the book, one thing I wanted to outline was all of the different ways that you could not only just buy Bitcoin, buy crypto, but how you could use it, how you could set up groups, much like the one here tonight, how you could set up college blockchain groups, how you could use it for Bitcoin summer camps, for example, which I teach myself. The first one started last year. How you can use it in the job market. I believe blockchain developers make 30 to 40% more than other developers. And most of this industry was so new. To me, I was like, the black community, we missed the internet age. We didn't get the advantages of buying stocks in big companies. We didn't build a lot of the internet companies that became big. We didn't actually make a lot of money off of a boom that was $1 trillion market. But we have the opportunity now. So that was the inspiration behind the book. And a lot of the book is just solutions. I don't really harp on things that happened before. They happened. They are obstacles from before in this country. But we have to understand that from that point, we need solutions. That's what this book focuses on. So one thing I wanted to make sure I put out today is that not only in the black community, but every community, we have the opportunity to use a currency that, for one, is not based on inflation. As you can see, the CPI inflation rate, even though that formula is kind of skewed, they say it's 6.2%. Basically, you're losing 1% of your money every 30 days. That is not a good money system. We've also seen ourselves taken off the gold standard. Another thing that has seen unimaginable amount of wealth taken out of this country. We've also seen the ability for us to go to war based on decisions by people who we don't know. That is what you are funding when you use the fiat system. Bitcoin is totally opposite. And I've always said in the black community, as much as people want social change, is the more you use fiat currency, you're funding your own oppression. So what are we really doing? We've done, I mean, we've had a black president. We have black lawyers, CEOs. We have black achievement, black girl magic, whatever. You see it on TV. None of it matters. The median wealth of the black community is basically the same since Civil Rights Act. What did it do? Nothing. Because our money system mostly is not built for you to win, especially if you're already one of the people who are, you know, basically held back. So that's what I wanted to show with Bitcoin, is that you have opportunity to change that and to sort of change the narrative that the things that you're doing don't matter. Every community can be involved in Bitcoin. We've already seen it all around the world, all around the US, and especially when we talk about going to space, it definitely intrigues me because we can literally move value across time and space now. There's nothing stopping you. So that is the biggest thing I wanted to present to the black community. That's why I wrote the book. The first version was more of an entry level. Second version is a little bit more advanced, talks about private wallets, talks about running lightning nodes, talks about Bitcoin and marriage, because believe it or not, I've talked to a few judges. Not a lot of people are understanding that there are a lot of people holding Bitcoin and crypto, and when that alimony and that divorce comes around, judges don't even know what to do. And one of the things I hit on too is, I know a lot of people say this may be kind of an old trope, but Bitcoin really is, if you solve the money, you solve everything. Biggest reason for divorce is money reasons. Number one group with divorces is the black community. Why would we not immerse ourselves into a different type of money system that may actually change that in the future? So that's in the second book as well as international remittance payments, Caribbean to Africa, because a lot of the black community does have family outside of the US. So all of that's in the second book, and I just wanted to make sure that we have solutions. That's all I care about, solutions. I don't really cry about what happened before. I don't really care about what people have done to you. What are you gonna do from here? So that is what these books are written for, and that is why I wrote Bitcoin in Black America. So from here, I wanted to see if I could grab my drink real quick. My throat's a little dry. But also too, I wanted to actually do more Q&A than speaking, because you can read the book for yourself if you want to. But I wanted more Q&A just to discuss more of the solutions that I've discussed, as well as some others that may come. Yes, sir, in the back.
Let's try to get mics so the viewers can get these questions too.
Alrighty. No, thank you for coming to speak. First off.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed you had recently had a meeting with Mayor Suarez out of Miami,
right,
and talking about what they've been doing with Miami Coin, doing everything they can to make their system open with Bitcoin acceptance out there. What insights have you taken away with your interactions with Mayor Suarez that you want to take and bring with your with the black communities here in the country?
Oh yeah. So I just got named project lead for the Miami Coin and Stacks initiative in Miami, so I'll be moving there in January. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I've been working with the mayor for the past 3 months or so. So if you've seen a lot of Mayor Suarez news come out, not trying to toot my own horn, but that's why it's coming out so much now. He's getting his salary in Bitcoin. He earned Bitcoin yield with Stacks. They just had an innovation day where every single business in Miami can sign up to get a payment processor for Miami Coin. So all of that is happening, and some of the work that we're doing is showing that Bitcoin as a security layer is amazing. Stacks as a DeFi layer is emerging. Miami Coin as a utility token, because the goal is to get rid of taxes for good locally. And the thing is, it's not just the black community, it's the entire Miami community, because again, it affects us all. But how much more would that help in black communities that are disparaged or don't have the money to pay that? You take away taxes, you have a cheaper rate for utilities, for goods. That's what we're working on now. So first in Miami, I have a meeting with Detroit next week, and I think Austin is coming very soon. So I think a lot of cities are starting to see we could basically use renewable energy, much like El Salvador, use volcano energy for mining to where they can decrease taxes to almost zero. You can do the same thing locally, but actually build globally. And one thing I want to, as far as specific to the black community, is allies. If you ever look at any movement for black people to get equal rights, It's us, it's allies, but it's not international, all around the world allies. We have people we don't even like that are working with us because it's Bitcoin. That's the best part. You don't have to like each other. We don't have to agree. Religion, so I don't care about any of that. Your political leanings, who cares? We're all working on the same goal because we're literally fighting against like 200 people that run the Federal Reserve. It's all of us versus them. So I think if we understand that, you just get to a point where you understand building community is a lot easier, and that's what we're trying to do in Miami and expand globally. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Cool.
Yes, sir.
More questions? We got one in the front here.
Amen.
I had a question for you. It's pretty obvious, you know, the weaknesses in fiat currency. And since you're so immersed in Bitcoin, I wanted to see if maybe you could take us to the future a little bit. It's 2020 now. Where do you see the financial system in relation to cryptocurrency and also fiat currency in city year 2040?
All right. So 2040, 20 years from now. Well, I don't necessarily think Bitcoin will replace all fiat currency completely by that time. Maybe a little bit later. But statistically speaking, every fiat currency has failed. And if you have a replacement for that, then you should go to that replacement. If not, you're failing an open book test. You know what's going to happen. Why don't you do something about it? So by 2040, I think Bitcoin will be the dominant reserve currency. Fiat may be used for day-to-day spending, but then we also have stable coins. And we also have other forms of currency that as more liquidity enters the market, it will be easier to be used as payments. That's why I think a lot of people are excited about Lightning. That's why people are excited about other crypto projects as well with DeFi. Because as more liquidity comes, volatility decreases, the medium of exchange error happens on that Lindy effect curve. And basically with Bitcoin, what I see is the ability to store it as value, the ability to spend it in countries where it's not more incentive to use your dollar. Because here we have a relatively stable dollar, right? Even though long term it's not, it's relatively stable, right? So our best use case isn't necessarily spending it, but in Venezuela, in El Salvador, my friends in Nigeria, it's actually a better medium of exchange than what they already have. That's going to come to other countries as well. So that's what I see happening by 2040. Global reserve asset, at least $100 trillion market. Michael Saylor stole my talking points, if anybody saw it. But I've been saying that for years. But as far as how money goes, most institutions don't have a choice but to capitulate into a system that is better money. And that's what I think will happen by 2040. I also think that talking with people at Art Basel this past week, people who are working in space chains are coming. Space race, the ability, if we have mining in space for goods, I don't even want to get into gold and silver because they might outdo that on another planet. But if we're mining for goods, we're not paying them with dollars. We're not paying them with gold. We're not paying them with, in my opinion, a CBDC because we won't even look at countries' lines as different countries. I think it'll be more open. So it will be with cryptocurrency. And I think that will be happening by 2040. Yes, sir.
Sarah and I worked on a project over Thai food one night, and we came up with Space Coin. And it was geolocated, so you couldn't use it on Earth. There was alcohol involved that night. Maybe other things.
Great idea.
Kylan first.
Check. All right.
Good.
Yes, so I guess my question, I'll be kind of blunt with it, is sometimes I see online that people are saying that cryptocurrency is dominated by white people, essentially, right? I was wondering if in your experience that's true, and let's say hypothetically it is true, are there forces, we'll call them political or cultural, that are nudging minorities or African Americans away from cryptocurrency?
All right, so great question. To answer, are African Americans or black people using it? Yes, actually the #1 demographic more likely to use cryptocurrency is black people, based on a recent poll by Coinbase. 24% African Americans, 17% white, or 17% Asian, 14% white. So it's actually more likely for the black community to use it, but we have less people. So it may look white dominated, but that's not necessarily the case. Another thing is access. I know thousands of black people who use crypto, who use Bitcoin. They've never been on CoinDesktop 100. They've never done an interview. They've never been in a magazine. I've been in plenty, and the first thing I do is mention the dozens of people that I know doing the same work because they just don't get the look. One thing I've seen is that nobody's nudging them away, but what happens is if you don't have access, if you don't have education, if you don't know about it, that's what happens. That's why I do what I do, because as soon as people hear about it, I haven't met one person who understands Bitcoin, who understands cryptocurrency, where we're going, and just said, nah, that's never gonna happen. They just haven't. It may take some time, but that's just what it is. So I think it's more about education. That's why education is so important to me. And that's why I teach, like I said, the Bitcoin summer camp, to make sure the next generation doesn't miss it. So I don't think black people are being left out. And also, too, we have a very American slanted view. If you look at the world, there's more black and brown people than white people, period. So if you look at Nigeria, like I said before, Ghana, Kenya, some of the places I've been before, that's not the case. It's just not. But in America, it seems like it, which I understand, because again, media, who you may notice I have a problem with, they make it seem that way. Because I've seen too many articles. It's like all the crypto bros are getting together and making all the money, and it's like, no, it's not. It's a lot more than that, which is fine. I mean, however they want to characterize it, but I think it does a disservice to think only one group is benefiting when in actuality there's many. So, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think we all believe that Bitcoin has great potential for social change.
Right.
But I've noticed that when I try and convince people on it, they just really aren't into it. So the way I try and sell it is like, come for the money, stay for the revolution.
Right.
Do you find a similar approach is effective, or do you feel like selling people on the more social aspect of it up front is better than the financial incentive?
Oh, yeah. Well, human greed is very strong. So, yes, that would be usually the first way to go about it. That's actually how I started my book, was discussing how that's how I thought. I'm just going to make a lot of money, buy some Lambos, move out the country. It's going to be great. And then you realize that's not what it's about at all. Like, I have no desire to buy a Lambo now at this point. But it's funny because for most people, you have to meet them where they are. And most people don't understand the basics of investing, delayed gratification, looking at a low time preference, and planning generational wealth. Most people just haven't thought about that. So I start where they are. For most people is, I need to make money. I remind them, yes, that can happen, but you can also lose your shirt and your retirement, your savings, your child's college fund for some people. So I make sure I give them both the good and the bad. I start there and then meet them where they are. If they work a job, for example, if you're an accountant, if you don't know how to do crypto taxes, you probably won't have a job in the next 5 years. If you're an engineer, why would you not enter into the crypto and blockchain market where you can make more money? If you're a project manager, there's plenty of companies that need project managers. Design, UX, all of that stuff. So I meet people where they are. I describe it to them in the terms that they understand. Usually it starts with greed, but then they always stay for the technology. Right.
What wallet do you recommend to people?
Edge wallet, of course. Oh, yeah. Been using it for years. Appreciate it. Back when it was Airbits. It was
Whoa. Nice.
Yeah,
Isaiah, thank you so
I
much.
used to use the directory, and nobody was accepting it where I was at in Charlotte, North Carolina. We had 2 places, and when I got there, they were like, "Oh, it's online. It's not even in person." I was like, "All right."
Are you ready to make the new announcement?
No, I was going to ask Isaiah a question. Yeah, Isaiah, thanks first of all for coming out. So in your book, you had mentioned when you were trying to onboard people, a lot of your peers in the black community, and they had heard about like Silk Road getting busted, Mt. Gox. They kind of like really shied away. Were kind of alienated by that, thought it was a scam. Looking back, have a lot of those people turned around and came around and now kind of realize, or are they still frictioned by, you know, some concerns that they had from back in 2013, 2014? How has it looked as far as the transition from when you first wrote your original book and the people you talked about to today?
It's definitely changed a lot. I think even though some people may not like it, when Elon Musk talks about it, when Mark Cuban talks about it, when famous rappers and musicians and athletes start taking payments in it, they stop remembering or thinking about the old media or whatnot. Some people don't even know what Silk Road is. They didn't even know that was a thing. But I think that's sort of gone now. I think it's funny because it's almost a foregone conclusion to a lot of people. This is where we're going, but they don't really know what they're doing. So it's not really a pushback about, it's criminals, it's for that. I think people realize this is legitimate currency, but for the most part, I think long term, they just have to learn what to do with it and how it actually works. But it has been a huge change, I will say that, because most people's first thing they would tell me was an article, a literally quoted article from CNBC or from wherever else, and I would say, did you actually look at the white paper? Did you actually read, study? No. But I heard in the news, this dude got robbed for 50 million worth of Bitcoin. Did Bitcoin fail? And it's like, no. That's like saying somebody robbed a bank. Did cash fail? No. that person got hacked. So yeah, it's a little bit of an education there, but yeah, it's pretty much gone away at this point.
All right, cool. I got one more in the back here. I don't know if you can. Sorry.
Hey, hello?
Hey, what's up, boss?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. Hey, I just want to say congratulations on the new job.
Thank
and I'm curious, as like kind of, I know you're an old school Bitcoiner. How does this? I've heard about Miami Coin. I don't really know anything about it. So I'm curious how you think. Does it matter for anybody outside of Miami? And what is, if you can just explain it to like me, what is it?
Mhm.
And yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
And,
all right, so Bitcoin being used as a security layer, layer one. Stacks is the protocol that builds smart contracts on top of that using a protocol called proof of transfer. All right. All that means is you prove that you have stacks in the liquidity pool, you earn Bitcoin yield. That was basic news that we came out of Miami, that anybody who has that can earn Bitcoin yield over time. Now, Miami Coin was built on top of that as a utility token, a way to save on services and goods in the city of Miami specifically. The company who created it, City Coins, their goal is to push it to every city. They've already, like I said before, pushed it to San Francisco, New York, with their new mayor, Eric Adams. Austin's next. We got Detroit, I got to talk to next week, a few others. So the use case of it is in your local economy, being able to save money to the point where, or in businesses as well, to the point where there's no local tax. Because if you have a treasury built on the fact that if I spend in my city, if I mine this coin in my city, 30% goes to the city, 70% comes to me. The city has a treasury where we don't have taxes, and I'm also saving 10 to 20% on every purchase. Puts more money in your pocket, and you earn Bitcoin at a time where it's very hard to buy it. So it basically solves most of the issues regular users have in the Bitcoin space. And the only reason for it, in my opinion, is we need a bridge to the medium of exchange era for spending Bitcoin. Because I'm gonna be honest, how many people want to spend their Bitcoin right now? Nobody wants to spend it. I do it because it's for, different reasons. Lightning Network, giving people gifts, but I don't want to spend it. So if I have a utility token where I can both spend it and save money, as well as earn Bitcoin yield while using Bitcoin security layer, that's what those are for, and that's what we're working on now.
That's really interesting. So let me just ask, so the people taking the other side of the trade, the people that are going to be buying it,
yes,
they're going to be the local people in the community, and basically the advantage would be that they are saving, say like sales tax or something.
Yes, or more, depending on the business. Businesses have started giving discounts on it already.
Sure.
Yes, so that would be, and also too, it's not just that city. Speculators from anywhere in the world can actually purchase it.
Interesting. So you could have like international market makers.
Exactly. So if you bet on Miami, or if you think that Miami will succeed, or New York or wherever, speculators can actually enter the market and actually drive that price growth as well. Yeah.
Interesting. I had one more question too. I'm just curious how you think, when you're trying to kind of like proliferate Bitcoin to the Black community, how do you? What is the best way to get it out in mass? So, for instance, people aren't, hearing from like influencers, like they're not buying a Takashi NFT, or you know what I'm saying? They're not buying the DJ Khaled coin. How do you get them onto like a quality standard, buy Bitcoin and not DJ Khaled?
Right. So I think the best way, unfortunately, is at this point, famous people talking about Bitcoin is how people learn about it. Them actually learning the use case and how Bitcoin actually works comes from the work done from people like myself. People like Lamar Wilson. We started Black Bitcoin Billionaires. We got 130,000 people in the group. We teach every single day. 137, exactly. And we teach every single day. Another way is I have a daily show I do Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We answer questions every day. Whole community of people, Black, brown, doesn't matter. Just doing the work, putting out books, educational resources. Because again, I'm not famous. I can talk to him blue in the face, but if Jay-Z comes out and says, I got Bitcoin, millions of people are gonna run and go get it. Meg Thee Stallion, who else? OBJ, Odell Beckham. I'm not famous, so it doesn't really matter if I'm saying it. I'm just there for when they hear about it. Well, who can I learn from? And that's where I come in, and others as well. So I think that's the biggest way people learn about it, just in general. But the education portion is, the best educators I know in Bitcoin usually have like 500 followers on Twitter, and they don't come out in public much. So it's not as if people don't know; they're just not famous, so to say.
I'll also say about the community too, like being in Miami 4 or 5 years ago, I remember every single like working girl on the strip, they all had a Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
And they were using it because it worked, and they knew how to do it. Because when Backpage canceled credit cards, they had to figure it out. So then it was Bitcoin, so they started using that. And then I remember also selling like, I don't know, like 3 Bitcoins at the time, like to some guys who rolled up in like crazy cars. And they were using it because of Silk Road. On the other side is like my logical leap into them. But again, it was like the actual utility of the currency that enabled that. So that just speaks like the real raw value of crypto. And the more people understand it and see it in action, they'll just keep using it. And I hope those girls all kept a little bit. And like, you know, they got those wallets. But it keeps up.
Big pimpin'. Big pimpin'.
I hope so too.
No, it's no.
I'm sure a couple did.
It's absolutely correct. Kyle is 100% correct. I hope they kept some money. Sex workers deserve to have bank accounts too. It's the oldest profession. So the 5. So thank you, Isaiah.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man. I'm there.
Okay, before we do the raffle and giveaway, this is the time for the lightning round. So 5 of you can rush up to the front if you have an announcement or something that you were wanting to talk about. And you have 60 seconds. So if you want to promote your group or a project you're working on, or you just want to introduce yourself to the community because you're looking for work, whatever it is, we're happy to give you a platform to share what you're working on. Kyle, you probably do want to, huh? You better get in line, though. We got 3 people already, so we got 4 people, and let's get the first one up on stage.
Ladies go first. Hi, I'm June. I'm one of the organizers of Crypto San Diego, and I'm making an announcement for our meeting next week. So Crypto San Diego, we do a lot of drinking. We drink dips. That was our very first meetup, was back in August. But we also do tutorial things, and it's usually getting people who are not super into crypto to use DeFi. We do a lot of education on DeFi. But the meeting next week, which is exactly in a week, next Tuesday, we had to postpone ours for Isaiah. I think he was worth it though. Is going to be for beginner folks who are not like DeFi gens, to show you how to get a yield on your crypto. If you're comfortable using centralized services like Celsius or Voyager, I'm going to do a run through of those, what the risks are that are involved, and yeah, so explain all of that stuff. And that's going to be next Tuesday, and we have a meetup group, meetup.com, Crypto San Diego.
Thanks, June. Next.
Good evening, guys. How are you doing today? Yeah, for Kevin, I'm just literally just going to read off this paper. I would like to invite you guys to this event next week, Wednesday on the 15th. Yeah, at Edge, same time, 6 to 8. It's a Chainlink event featuring building the metaverse. There will be a panel discussion. A guest list will include Etfs, Nifty Labs, Permission.io, and even Paul is going to be here, the CEO of Edge. Food, drinks, and giveaway as well will be available. You'll find more info on Chainlink San Diego Meetup. And it's going to be a great event, so we'll love to see you next week, Wednesday. Cheers.
All right. I love a man with notes. That makes it short and simple, no rambling. Plus, he was well dressed, easy on the eye. Awesome.
Hello, I'm Joey Aliano. I've been buying and selling NFTs for a while. for a while in the NFT market. But anyway, I'm kind of backed. I have a hedge fund that's really interested in doing projects. They fund my stuff. I just buy and sell the stuff every day. But I'm really interested in what's going on with the NFT market. So I'm looking for other people that are interested in just collabing on something. I have a lot of really big ideas. I want to start doing stuff with real estate, maybe buying a golf course, like doing some like crazy stuff. So if anybody's interested, I need community managers, devs. Yeah. I'm a golf instructor, actually. But yeah, we need golf instructors, sure. We need everybody. But that's it, man. I'm Joey. I'll be around. I'm going to go have some beers, I'm sure, over at the bar where we're going. So hit me up.
Thanks, Joey.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Steven. I'm from Permission.io. First, thanks to Edge for hosting this event, and thanks to Crypto Connect for inviting Permission to come sponsor Beer and Pizza. And that's kind of the plug this evening is, Permission.io is a local company, and we want to be engaged with you guys, the local crypto community. And that is not only with the events that you're hosting like this, so don't hesitate to reach out. We're very, very, very open to being engaged to whatever you're doing, but also, much like Edge, we're hiring lots of, we're spinning up our team as we're growing here in San Diego. So, I'll share my story. 6 months ago, I was a software engineer for a government defense company, and today, I know, and today, I'm VP of community, doing something completely different, only because I was super passionate about crypto. So, this is not financial advice, not career advice, but now is the time to go full crypto as corporations, companies are hiring, not only engineers to do engineering things, but engineers to do other things. So now is your time. Permission.io, and find me afterwards. We'll grab a beer.
Thank you, Steven. All right, Kyle. There was only 4. Kyle, did you have something a project that you wanted to announce? Because Kyle always has a project. In the meantime, while Kyle is getting it up here, I like to ask a question of the audience just to get a feel. So, who here would consider themselves like almost like a veteran or fairly experienced in crypto? Raise your hand. All right. Look around the room and look at those people. Keep your hand up. Look around the room and see who those people are. Okay? Because if you're not one of those people and you need help, those are the people to go to. Okay? So let's go ahead and put your hands down, and let's just see for all of you. Let's raise your hands who are somebody who feels that they are new or maybe could use some help. Okay, there's about a third of you who didn't raise your hands at all, so I don't know what you guys are. But you've been around for a while, but you don't feel confident in helping somebody else. I understand. We've all been there. But remember the people who raise their hand first. If you are somebody who's looking for help, those people have the help or the knowledge to help you out. And you can always show up on Thursday at Edge between 9:30 and 11:30 on Thursday. I might just to see who shows up. All right, and Kyle?
All right, I'm Kyle Kemper, and I'm really trying to get the audio off this computer. Is it going to run? And this is going to be Nifty World. So we just dropped this at Art Basel, Miami. And we just dropped this. Last time I was up here, I announced the conference that we were going to have in Miami where we gave away a McLaren. We gave away the McLaren. It was awesome. We wrapped it as a Doge. All right, it's not playing the audio yet. We need, and then we wrapped the McLaren as a Doge. Maybe you saw it on Reddit. It's completely hilarious. But Nifty World is an app that, oh man, it's just not the same without the audio because it's so fire, the audio. But anyways, Nifty World is an NFT super platform. What is a Nifty? It's a digital scarce object. It's an NFT, but it's dynamic now. Nifty World does a whole bunch of things, including this thing called a Nifty camera. So what we're allowing you to do is mint moments. Oh wait, it's also, there we go. Get it. Get it. So here's we make these little 3D Polaroids. You can snap a picture and turn it into a 3D Polaroid in seconds and have it up on OpenSea. All of you can do this right now if you go to nifty.world. We have specific frames to allow you to do it. We also have a marketplace where you can buy and sell your Nifties. including this radical SIM card. Everything's location-based too, so right here in this room, there's tons of Nifties for you to pick up. Go to Nifty World, pick it up, enjoy. It's also an AR metaverse, so you can see them all around you. If you see, you'll see Stop Nathan Fletcher NFTs all around us. It's hilarious. Nathan Fletcher, grandest fascist in all of San Diego. All right, we'll just end it here because the last one that it gets onto is the pitch. If you're interested, we are raising our seed investment. We've got tons of promotions coming forth. We'll be launching with Kyle and Lucas. This is based on Block V as well. So the VEE token, we're raising 2.2 million at a 22 million valuation. It is hot. It is early access. It is nifty. That's nifty. I'm Kyle Kemper. Please come play. Let's have fun together. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. I love you, Paul. I love you, Paul. Paul Pui, everybody. Give a big round of applause for Paul. Without Paul, none of us would be here right now, for this man is a legend. And now Madison will be doing the grand unveil. Who will be the winner of $50 in Bitcoin? All right. The very first winner is going to be a swag. And what you're going to be winning is a coaster. No, a whole bag of swag with a coaster in it. All right, Saber Sabes. Saber Sabes? Yes, sir. Welcome. Yeah, baby. You won. All right, smile for the pictures. Smile for the just right there. All right. All right, now for the grand reveal. The big winner, the grand prize winner. $50 worth of Bitcoin. And hold on. We're going to throw something else into this. $1 in fiat. And one Doge sticker goes to Hunter. Where are you at, Hunter? Get over here, Hunter. All right. You've done it. I know you can't actually hold $50 in Bitcoin, but you can hold $1 in fiat and one Doge sticker.
It's a great looking dog. It's a great looking dog.
Wow.
Thank you.
What is Doge spelled backwards?
Egon? No, Egod?
Or ego D, potentially representing the death of the ego.
Yes, the death of the ego. That actually reminds me.
All right, I have a couple more announcements to close us out.
Shout out D-Gods, NFT community. I love you.
Thank you, Hunter.
Okay, so just a reminder about the Edge Help Desk. Also, if you download Edge tonight, find me or anybody with an Edge shirt on, or if you know that they work for Edge, and they can send you $5 in Bitcoin. So go ahead and find us, and we'll send you some funds. If you download Edge tonight.
Just ask somebody to give you $5 in Bitcoin. That never hurts. Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, don't forget, we're still looking for volunteers. Volunteers are very important to keep this meetup going. So if you're interested in volunteering, please find me or Madison after the event. And then Paul, I think you have an announcement to make. Yeah? Well, okay, well, you already did yours. Sorry, I guess I must have got a glass of water or something during that time. The Zcash, don't forget Zcash is now available on Edge. And so this is going to be where we're heading. So mark this on your phone, your map. We are going to be walking to the Princess Pub after we wrap this up here. So feel free to mingle, hang out, find speakers, talk to OGs, get the help, download the Edge wallet, get a few bucks, and come hang out with us for the rest of the night. Thank you all for coming.